available? Oh, gosh. Well, let's wrap this up real quick. I've got some work to do. And Deborah, thank you for 36 years ago? 36 years ago started this. And 100% of the proceeds go to Hearts of Gold, her charity, which supports homeless moms and children. If that's not extraordinary, as we celebrate our moms around Mother's Day, I couldn't think of a better place to come and to talk about the challenges that our small businesses are facing at this moment in time. So you're an extraordinary woman, and I just want to honor you and thank you for all you've done for 45,000 individuals over the last 36 years. Let's give Deborah another round of applause. I want to thank our Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg for joining us. He's been acknowledged. Richmond County District Attorney Mike McMahon, for those who don't know, Staten Island, right? Brooklyn District Attorney Eric Gonzalez, and is that all right, everybody? Okay. And Jessica Walker, the CEO and President of the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. Let's give a round of applause to Jessica. And Mark Jaffe. Mark, thank you for joining us, the President of the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. So we're here for a number of reasons. One is that our small businesses are under enormous stress right now. Just spend 2 minutes talking to someone like Deborah, and she'll tell you that in all the years she's been in business, a very long time, that this is the moment where the future seems more uncertain than ever. Why? Well, she came through a terrorism attack. She came through a recession. She came through a pandemic. She came through inflation. She came through retail theft, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But now she has to deal with tariffs and the cost of everything going up. So I helped my mom start a small business. And my mom dedicated her efforts to supporting victims of domestic violence. And I know what it's like. A lot of our products would come in, and you hope they weren't broken, and you hope that someone would buy it, and you'd sit there waiting for that little bell to ring on the door on a Sunday afternoon, because I always worked there for her. And sometimes it never rang, that no customers came in, and that makes your heart sink. But when people come in, there's a sense of, this is great, a customer has arrived. So I've lived that experience through my own family. I have such an empathy for the businesses that are struggling now with the uncertainty that this environment out of Washington, this self-inflicted massive wound on all of us and our economy, unprecedented, unnecessary, is making the future really uncertain. But we also stood together, and many of the people in this room, as we were fighting retail theft just a couple years ago. This was a major issue. You know, we were seeing people come in and just swipe the shelves right here in Manhattan and all across the state. And it got so crazy, we just said, well, let's look at the laws. Why aren't people being arrested for this? Why aren't they being tried and put in jail if they're doing this? What's going wrong here? And so we knew we needed to pass some laws. And we increased the penalties, and increased penalties especially for assaults on retail workers and all the workers who are here, who are out there exposed in every store, exposed to someone who comes in and can do them harm. I saw enough camera tapes from stores all over the state to see the assaults on individual workers, and it's a frightening time. And we also just gave more money to businesses for security enhancements. And I'm proud to say, we did this last year, retail theft is down 8% already this year alone. So we're making a real difference. And on tariffs, I don't know what to do for you. Elections have consequences, and there's always another election. That's all I can say. This is a real challenging time. This is a real challenging time for our people, and I wish there was something we could do to unwind where we are at this moment. Something has to give, and I hope enough voices from the small businesses rising up, because obviously Wall Street was not listened to, but the small businesses, and there's so many more people, the little mom and pop shops all over this country who need to band together and say, this is not going to work for us. This is too much pressure. We're not going to survive in this environment. We need your help. And I hope those cries are listened to, and I'll be there to help with that as well. But I was thinking back to the security measures we put in place. You know, none of that means anything. When I talk about we need to have more people arrested, right? Found out. We found the person who did this. They go to court. You think something's going to happen. The DA's involved. The DA makes a case. But it doesn't matter if that case is thrown out because of a minor technicality. Because then that person's back on the street, you're back at your shop wondering if they're going to come in and rob you again or steal from you again, right? And to get this cycle of crime going over and over and over. I heard this from family-owned bodegas to neighborhood pharmacies to clothing stores to national chains. This is just incessant, an attack on our stores and the owners. So I hear from the owners, we're doing everything we need to do. We're putting in security, we're putting in cameras, we're doing what we need to do, we're being vigilant. But we're testifying in court, but the criminals keep coming back and back and back. And one contributing factor are the broken discovery laws, right? This is, let me get verification. I mean, our district attorneys who are trying to make the cases are saying that these laws need to be changed. Now, in 2019, the laws related to this were changed, and they needed to be. I will stand behind those changes. We didn't want people languishing in jails without even knowing what they're charged with or seeing the evidence for an indefinite amount of time. That has dire consequences. I've always said that. We don't want to roll back the clock when the prosecutors have the way upper hand and can ambush the defense side. We're not looking for that. We're just looking for justice for victims, whether they're victims of domestic violence that I've been with over the course of the last week, or victims like small business owners. Retail theft takes a toll, makes them uncertain, and retail workers who aren't sure it's safe to come to work. So we also don't want that pendulum to stay as far up as it is. It needs to come back to the middle. It needs to come back to the middle. So the problem is the current law does not allow prosecutors, doesn't just require prosecutors to turn over evidence. They have to turn over anything even remotely related to the case. I mean, not something that's an important piece of evidence that anyone with common sense would think should be out there. We all want to make sure defendants get justice. But it puts an enormous burden on prosecutors when they're trying to build the retail theft cases. I mean, think about this. If one surveillance video over a period of time in a shop is submitted, but it fails to upload, you've got all this other evidence. You've got everything you need. It's ironclad. That case gets dismissed. Sorry, the person's back on the street. If you submit a security guard's personnel file even a day late, too bad, the whole case gets thrown out the window. Or you forget to include a witness statement that would have had no benefit to the defendant's case whatsoever. Technicality, minor item, no bearing on the case. What happens? The case gets dismissed, thrown out. So speedy trial dismissals have increased more than 4 times since 2019, 4 times more, and especially in larceny. The number of larceny dismissals have doubled since 2019 That does not make you look even sadder. she says, it's
still my heart.
I know, it's tough enough. It's tough enough to be a business owner. It's tough enough. So 25% of these cases are thrown out, up from 14% just 5 years ago. That's thousands and thousands of cases. Not because the defendant is innocent, because of minor paperwork errors. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. The Manhattan Sephora. An employee approached a serial shoplifter who pulled out a knife on that employee after stealing perfume. During the trial, the judge dismissed the entire case for not turning over a document that didn't even exist. But the judge thought the case should be dismissed. Despite clear video evidence and multiple witnesses, an armed criminal walked free to hurt someone else. Now, I didn't fight to secure these record investments in law enforcement, to support our district attorneys, try to make our streets safer, just to watch these people walk free over frivolous errors. So we propose some discovery reforms, and they're simple. Cases should not be dismissed automatically for technical errors. The court should have to look at whether there's actual harm to the defendant. We don't want cases where there's harm, we don't want evidence where there's harm to a defendant dismissed. It's not right. And prosecutors shouldn't have to waste their time tracking down absolutely irrelevant material or get in protracted fights to protect sensitive information. And we need incentives for defense attorneys to identify the problems early instead of what they call lying in wait. They know there's a problem, but they could tell the district attorney then, or they can wait until the eve of the trial, or the eve of the deadline, and then tell them, then it's too late to do anything about it. That's what's been happening. That's not right. So this is not a binary choice. It's really not, the way some are phrasing it. We can't have a fair discovery process, fair for the defendant, but it also holds criminals accountable. And this goes beyond public safety. You know, as I talk about higher costs for everyone, another part of my agenda is affordability, right? I want to talk about this because I feel we're on the verge of a very important deal with our legislature. And I want to thank particularly Carl Heastie for working so hard day and night to help us get this over the finish line. And as a football fan, we're not in the end zone. Maybe we're on the 5-yard line. Is that close? Okay. But I know one thing from football: you don't spike it until the game's over, okay, or until you get the touchdown. So that's why we're going to wait until this gets absolutely buttoned up. But we're very close, and I want to thank the Speaker and his staff and my staff and the district attorneys who've given up so much time, so much time. They've come up to Albany. They've been an important voice for the victims who often feel no one is listening to them. And that's why we're here. We're also concerned about families who are struggling in this environment. We talked about inflation. We talked about the tariffs. It's getting so bad out there. And I'm working so hard in my budget to enact what I call the affordability agenda. What's part of that? If you've got little kids under the age of 4, which I happen to know is the most expensive time, the formula, the diapers, they outgrow everything every 3 months, right? The clothes are like 0 to 3, 3 to 6. I'm a grandma, I just bought some clothes recently. $1,000 for every family, a child tax credit, so every family with a child under the age of 4 can get $1,000. Older kids, $500. It starts to add up. An inflation rebate. We collected more money in sales tax than we ever anticipated because inflation was so high, right? It's a certain percentage on the price of the good. Inflation was up. We collected more. I want to put some of that back in our consumers' pockets. If you're a parent, again, the cost of school lunches and breakfasts, it adds up to about $1,600 a year per child. You've got a couple of kids, we're going to make sure that that's covered as well. And also the largest middle-class tax rate cut in 70 years. I want to get all that done. I'm anxious to put this budget to bed with those in reforms so we can start letting money flow back in your pockets, because here's my fear. We can put upwards of $5,000 back in the pocket of a family, but the prediction from the inflation, not just the inflation, but the tariffs, is that the costs are going to go up anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 out the other pocket. So that's the stress that New York families are under. I'm fighting that. I'm fighting for public safety. I'm fighting for affordability, and I know we are on the verge of getting it done. So I want to thank everyone, my partners in Albany, for working so tirelessly on this as well. We're almost there. And again, all of you for joining us here today, because these people, these small businesses, and our victims everywhere are worth fighting for. Thank you very much. Let me introduce the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg.
I love that we're right here in the middle of Manhattan, Governor, and I love that we're here in your store. Thank you for all of this, and I'm going to be back. I'm going to be back as a customer. And I want to thank the governor for her steadfast leadership on retail theft and on discovery, making it a clear priority and leaning in and helping the district attorneys, and as you point out, Governor, store owners and survivors and victims. When I first came into office the year before, 18% of the people arrested in Manhattan for retail theft accounted for 45% of the arrests. So that shows you the recidivism, the repeat conduct that we were seeing. And I'm so encouraged, as the governor noted, that things are getting better. We are moving forward with her leadership, but we have a lot more work to do. So we are focusing on this issue every day. It's a top priority in my office, focusing in particular on that population that we're seeing again and again. And I also note, to complement those day in, day out cases, we're soon to start a trial of $1 million fencing operation, really trying to disrupt the channels. If you can't resell it, we're hoping that will deter people from shoplifting in the first instance. So we are humbled and proud to do this work alongside the governor, thankful for her leadership, and of course, my colleagues in the other counties. A particular challenge in this context is the discovery loss. Make no mistake about it, it makes our jobs prosecuting harder. It makes the jobs of store owners when we're repeatedly asking for more information. In the example that the governor gave, that's a Manhattan case, we were literally asking for a document that did not exist, and ultimately there was a dismissal in that case. So I love the governor's, we may root for different football teams, but I love the comparison. We're on the 5-yard line, and that's due to her leadership leaning in, prioritizing, spotlighting this issue, and thankful on behalf of the people of Manhattan, the store owners, the survivors, the victims have been a part of a really robust conversation to make meaningful changes. And I too, like the governor, also thank the speaker and the majority leader. And so I've been a litigator now for almost a quarter century, and I've read a lot of statutes, and I know every word counts. And so we will continue to work until we get over the goal line, Governor. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I almost forgot to introduce my fine colleague, the gentleman from Richmond County, Staten Island, and also the head of the New York State District Attorneys Association.
Thank you, District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Thank you for hosting us in this truly beautiful shop, and to our governor, to the leaders of our business community, and to the owner of this beautiful shop, and to my colleagues. Thank you for allowing me to stand here and say a few words. Retail theft is not a victimless crime. There are individuals who own stores and invest their life savings into stores like this, and that's certainly your case, Jessica, and as the governor mentioned, there are people who benefit from the profits of this store who are homeless children and children who need that, and when someone steals here, they take it away from them. But what makes New York City different, there's so many treasures that we have in this town. But one is certainly the retail options that we have, and whether it's the big chain stores, which are an important part of it, but certainly the mom and pop, the owner-operated stores that continues to make New York City a different place. You go to other cities, major cities across this country, there aren't as many, I'll just say that. So the victims of retail theft in particular are the owners of these stores who have invested their life savings in a beautiful store like this where you can buy just about anything, I think. But our bodega owners, our delicatessens, our coffee shops, all our retail options, of course, in Staten Island, we would say our salumerias, of course, in Staten Island is very important. But they are victims, and we're victims too. You go into a store now and you have to wait online because things are locked up. And as you're waiting online, here comes some thief comes into the store and starts taking things up, the few things that are on the shelf that aren't locked up, and you're wondering, why am I waiting along? What is going on? And so the governor's 5-point plan that she previously introduced has made a big impact. But one of the pillars of that plan was to go and straighten out and bring common sense to the discovery laws that, as she said, ma'am, as you said, needed to be changed, but they went too far. And they really brought a wrench into the whole criminal justice system. Cases are being dismissed. Victims are not being, it's not just retail theft, it's domestic violence as well, something that you're so passionate about. Victims' cases are being tossed and they can't even get their order of protection. And it's all because well-meaning laws went too far, and we are now in the process of rolling that back. So I'm thrilled, and I just want to say this. I've been a city council member and a congressman. Nobody cares about that, but I've seen a lot of legislation and a lot of negotiations. I've never seen an instance where the governor herself, the chief executive, has rolled up her sleeves and said, let's get into it, and Speaker Carl Hastie and Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins have sat with us for hours, literally hours, right, Eric?
Yes.
With us, with D.A. Katz, who can't be here from Queens, and D.A. Clark from the Bronx, and the DAs from across the state who I also represent. We appreciate that. But also the public defenders and the defense bar have been part of this discussion and negotiation, as they were when the law was amended. And I think we're going to get to a place where we can bring back common sense, bring back safety, bring down recidivism, and make our city and our state a much safer place. So on behalf of myself, all the state DAs across our great state, the great Empire State, and the people of Staten Island, I say thank you, ma'am. Thank you to my colleagues. Thank you to our state leaders. And we look forward to the Bills scoring another touchdown and spiking the ball. Oh, and yes, sir. And he made sure that I say the great district attorney from the County of Kings, the city of Brooklyn, the great Eric Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just going to jump right into this. I want to thank the governor for her tireless voice in trying to make sure our city and state moves in the direction of safety and fairness. You know, the governor took this conversation, which is a little complex and nuanced, the issue of discovery, the exchange of information in court between prosecutors and defense attorneys is not something that typically gets a lot of attention. And she took it out of the realm of politics and asked that it be thought about and worked on as a matter of legal policy. And so she asked the district attorneys and the leadership to really roll up our sleeves and try to make substantive changes to the law that will work for everyone. And, you know, I am proud to say that because she was steadfast in her commitment to get this right, that many, many hours of conversation took place. We were able to kind of reach a conceptual framework, right, which is that the law as currently constituted has caused a lot of harm. Too many cases have been dismissed. A lot of victims and survivors and business owners have been held holding the bag. It's not too much to ask that if the police make an arrest and the district attorneys charge the case, that case should get individualized assessment about public safety, about fairness, and quite frankly, that the judges should have the same capacity to rule on the case. And the way the law was currently constituted, judges felt they had no other options under the law than simply to dismiss the case. So the conceptual framework, without getting into the weeds, is that judges are going to have individualized ability to take a look at the case once the information is exchanged, and there's been a lot of thought about due process for defendants, but also to make sure that we continue to move in safe directions. And so thank you, Governor. I also want to thank leader of our Senate, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, but very particularly Carl Hastie, the Speaker, because he's also really rolled up his sleeves to try to get us to this place, working with the governor. Hours and hours of time have gone into trying to get this right. And so as my colleagues have said, and as the governor said, the words matter, the final product matters, and so we're still finishing up the product. But I think that New Yorkers can take comfort in knowing that the governor stayed true to her word and said that this was going to be her priority on the public safety front, and I am grateful for that because I think it's going to be better for New Yorkers. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.
Up next, Manhattan Chamber of Commerce President and CEO, Jessica Walker.
Next time. Thank you. I just want to sort of echo what the district attorney from Staten Island said. When we're talking about retail theft, this is not a victimless crime. We are talking about small business owners who put everything into their business, their savings, their time. They have employees who they care very deeply about. This affects so many people. The governor, we are so thankful to you for doing the package last year on retail theft that has been very, very helpful to so many businesses. So thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you.
But now we need this discovery reform. This is about justice. This is about public safety. We cannot have people being let go on a technicality and then coming out and going right back to those stores and continuing to do the wrong thing. This is about justice. And now I have the privilege of introducing you to the owner of the business that you're in now, because she's going to just exemplify exactly what it means to be a small business owner. I'm going to give the floor to a board member from the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce Board, but also just a wonderful, wonderful leader in our community. Deborah Koenigsberger.
Good afternoon, everyone. Governor, I'm so happy to see you again.
Me too, as well.
And to be standing by your side in support of something that I so believe in.
Thanks.
So I'm the owner of two small businesses and the founder of a charity called Hearts of Gold. And on September 5th, 1989, when my mother gave me all the money she had in the world, your mom started her business, my mother funded me to start my business with $29,500 on 23rd Street, 2 blocks from here. And I started this business because I wanted independence. I wanted to be responsible for my own life. And I soon discovered that with that independence, you can do so much more. And so I founded this charity 5 years later, and we support homeless moms and kids in shelters. It's called Hearts of Gold. This concept space that you're in, 7,000 square feet, it's all divvied up so that I'm able to do the work in the community. I'm able to feed my family, and I'm able to feed the families of a lot of moms and kids who live in the shelters. So Noir et Blanc, this boutique that you're all sitting in right now, I import, and here go the tariffs, I import from France, Italy, Korea. I import from all over the world the beautiful merchandise that I sell here. And I just got my first emails last week that read the word tariff. And it's really a struggle out here. Retail is not a fun business, and it's hard. And the only reason to do it is because you love it. And mom and pop stores are literally that. So in order for my family to be fed and to eat and whatever, you work, I work 6, 7 days a week. And I love what I do, so that's why I do it. I love fashion. I came out of the modeling industry, and I stayed in fashion because it was what I knew. And had taken that as a path to being able to do this work with these moms and kids. So Hearts of Gold adopts shelters that house homeless moms and children and put programs in place in the shelters. That's what we do. Last year, we surpassed 45,000 moms and kids helped by, the sales made in this space. So our thrift store and our vintage store here, it's called TTH Vintage Boutique. TTH is the thrifty hog, hog being Hearts of Gold. All the merchandise in it is donated. And when some criminal from outside walks in and scoops up some of that and walks away with it, that's less money for me. Last night I was on the phone till 11 o'clock with a mom who literally felt like she wanted to just jump out the window. So I said to her, okay, listen, first of all, her problems, the small ones I can fix right away. I said, come on Thursday, I'll take you shopping for food. We'll do what we can do, and then I'll set her up with the resources she's gonna need to help her feel like she needs to be here for her 3 small children, right? So all kinds of programs that we run all day long, it takes money. When my rent, which is already absurd, is going to be increased, and the taxes increase, and everything increases, and I can no longer afford to be here, that means I can no longer afford to do the work. I care about the work. I'm here, I'm all about the work. I have taken moms who've never had any education to now their kids being in college. We're breaking the cycle. And this small effort, because it is a small effort, and I'm fine about that, but it's meaningful, and I don't want it to go away. And so for that to keep happening, we really need these discovery laws. I have people who walk into my store, shop the racks, literally, look at what they're going to steal, pick it up, and they just go out the door. My staff is not allowed to approach them because at the end of the day, no life is worth a pair of pants, even though those pants cost me all that it cost me to bring it here from wherever. So these criminals get away, like the brazenness, the boldness is insane. When you commit a crime, there's a rule of law, and that rule says if you commit a crime, you have to pay for it. There are consequences. When the district attorneys can't make their case because the judge's hands are bound, where are we going? So, Governor, like the fact that you have, I love that you're a woman in doing this, it's so badass. The fact that you have really just decided to take a stand, I'm at the end of that. I'm the little person down here. I am that mom, Pop's home taking care of the kids, all good, but I am that mom who feels the effects of that, because if I have no options, if I can't, reporting crimes, report them all you want, the guy's gonna be back on the street next day, it doesn't work.
right.
Nobody wants to do that. So what do? I stop reporting crimes, because I don't have time, right? So when they walk up with 2 pairs of pants, it's another 2 pairs of pants. I can't file insurance, because if I do, they will drop me and they raise my insurance. So we're up against this wall constantly, but I love what I do. And I will not be stopped by petty criminals, but the law can stop them. And when you intervene with laws and the district attorneys bring these cases, they need to not be dismissed on ridiculous technicalities. And that's what they are, ridiculous technicalities. So I am so supremely grateful to you, and it means so much. My girls come to work every day, and some days, we see them when they walk in the door. We know who they are. Call it profiling, I don't care. We know that guy, he came in last week, he tried to steal the thing. Here he comes again. My girls are at times afraid, at times we just kind of, we're there. We want to make sure we're watchful, but listen, nobody came to work today to worry and fear for their life. Nobody. And I don't want that to be what happens to the people who work for me and work with me and help us to make this community stronger and better by the efforts that we put out. So thanks everyone for supporting the governor on this. I cannot overstate, I can't, how amazing this is. Thank you.
That concludes our program. Thank you all for attending. If our guests can please exit through the front door where you came in, and press could be seated in the front, that would be excellent. Our gaggle will begin shortly.